Then we just see the car shooting straight off, and there's not a great deal of runoff between the exit of the corner. The gravel trap, which did a certain amount of slowing down, but not enough for the momentum, hit the barriers of the tire barrier, then the wall, bounced back, but fortunately, principally superficial damage.
Yeah, that's pretty thankful. The guys were saying it's probably just as well it went in quite as square as it did, because a lot of the energy of the impact was absorbed by the bodywork around the front. So that's probably helped them save the chassis. Now, we did see this car off in the gravel earlier on, John. This is the Stefan Mucker Aston Martin, and he had a little bit of an off as well, didn't he, on another section of track?
Going on the entry into turn 5, it fundamentally did the same kind of thing that we just seen Nicky Katzberg do. Turned in, expected the car to settle and bite. The back end stepped out, pushed the lock on, then the front suddenly bites, and he went off. He didn't hit the tyre barrier, but he just came against it and just got trapped in the gravel. And the gravel here is extremely soft. It's a very efficient gravel trap, but of course once the car goes into it, it is not coming out unless you get external assistance.
No, and he was helping sweep out the gravel, I noticed, in the pit garage afterwards, because he certainly collected a lot both in and under the car. Anyway, cars are out on track now, and the first one we're seeing out there is Jamie Campbell-Walter in the number 21 Nissan. The front engine V8 powered Nissan, of course, it's got a higher centre of gravity than cars like these, the Lamborghinis. And talking to David Brabham, he was saying the car reacts quite a lot over the bumps here. We've already talked about the bumps, and dealing with that's one of the unpredictable factors.
I was talking to a driver in a competitive brand, happens to have a front engine with a V12 in it, and he was saying that in Ordos there was a nasty step between turns 9 and 10, and he thought the Nissans rode it like a Packard. Now, what he meant by that, I assume, is that the car rode better than the Aston did, and he was very impressed. Now, if they can roll that kind of handling over here into the Golden Port circuit, there is actually a golden pond here, but Henry Fonda and Catherine Hepburn are not making appearances.
Great shame. Yes.
Remember them well.
Indeed. So out on circuit, we've got a few cars now watching the Lamborghini number 38 car of the guys that did lead the championship at one point this season, a couple of times in fact, but they're now sitting second in the points, and that is Mark Basseng and Marcus Winkelhock, and it's Mark Basseng who's driver 1. He's for this weekend anyway, they swap it around at times, but Mark Basseng will qualify in qualifying segment 1, which is what we're into at the moment. Quick reminder, first 20 minutes coming up here of qualifying. Driver 1 does the job in this. If they make it through this first part of qualifying, we go into Q2, which is a slightly shorter session of 15 minutes, and then we get to the top 8 cars, which are due to battle for 10 minutes.
And the benchmark time we saw this morning was 60.424 seconds, and I'm sure very shortly we will see one of those leading cars, maybe a rear engine car or a mid-engine car such as the Lamborghini or the 4GT, breaking that 60-second lap for the first time here.
So let's just ride on board with Mark Basseng. We're up the little short straight, well, the straight that is there. We're into turn 10 here, and then just a little bit of a kink and up towards the last part of the lap.
Yeah, just a little flip-flap right and left, then another short straight into turn 13 and 14. We like to call it the parabolic corner, and oversteer big time. And the Lamborghini lost time as a consequence of that, having to get out of the throttle, wait to see what the lap time is as he goes across the line.
He's second quickest at the moment, because interestingly fastest is Christopher Brook in another of the Lamborghinis, which is impressive. There is Winkelhock, Mark Basseng's teammate. You'll have seen that they're not quite as quick at this stage, but it's fractions we're talking about here. It's such a short circuit that the differences between each car are going to be tiny.
Well, we had 13 cars this morning covered by less than a second. It was 0.895 of a second.
So, also on track at the moment is the number 22 Nissan. This is Richard Westbrook. He and Peter Dunbrack, of course, had an extremely good event at Ordos, certainly top of the Nissans.
And they're just gone quickest.
Yeah, gone fastest outright. So, 10th of a second, that's all the advantage. But that's a very good run by the Nissan, because they weren't showing so strongly this morning. We wouldn't have thought this to be particularly favouring the Nissans, but straight away Westbrook's gone fast. Jonathan Hershey's just gone second fastest in the Belgian Racing Ford GT, so that's a good one. And what about the number 10 car? That goes 6th quickest with Antoine Leclerc, as we're beginning to get a few more times now. And Basseng's just gone faster. Mark Basseng on a 61.7.
And we're seeing effectively what we see at every venue when we go out for the first time after there's been the best part of a 2-hour break, and that is that the track does change. It's gotten quite warm here, so there is the beginning of some cloud coming in, which is shielding the sun from the circuit, but the temperatures are substantially warmer than they were some 2 hours ago.
Jamie Campbell-Walter about to improve, and he goes second. In fact, that's a good lap from Jamie Campbell-Walter. So Nissan up there, 2 Nissans up there with their second and third in the hands of Jamie Campbell-Walter and Richard Westbrook. But on top at the moment is the Lamborghini Murcielago of Marc Basseng.
We're just going to cut to see turn 3 from the driver's perspective. They're back out on track, watching this Ford GT coming across start-finish line.
Jonathan Hershey.
Fastest and quickest overall.
That's a great lap, isn't it, from Jonathan Hershey. Back out once again in GT1. Good to see him back. He returned obviously last time out at Ordos. Last year he raced with the Hexis Aston Martin team. But that's a really, really good lap. And Basseng has just beaten it again. Basseng's just at a 61.4.
So laps almost by the lap. We're seeing improvements coming through out the field. We go back to the David Brabham Nissan coming through turns 11, 12 and up to 13, which is really 13 and 14, just one long corner.
Great first split from Jamie there, but the middle time, John, wasn't so good, so he's lost a little bit of time in the middle there. I'm not sure he'll be able to improve. No, he stays third. So Jamie Campbell-Walter at the moment third fastest. It's Marc Basseng, Jonathan Hershey, Jamie Campbell-Walter. So it means we've got Lamborghini on top, we've got Ford GT second, Nissan currently third. And there's another change. Who was that? Was that Westbrook moving up? I think, yeah, Westbrook up to third. So that's a good lap from him. And all the times you say. And what's interesting here is that the track is allowing them to do several quick laps. It's not as if they can only do one flyer and then the pace goes.
No, the circuit appears to be relatively easy on the tyre, so they're getting more out of a fresh tyre than you might normally expect to get. And that's enabling them to go out to a run of 3 or 4 time laps before you want to come back in, catch your breath, think about it, and then go back out and try and improve.
So back on board with Marc Basseng. He's gone fastest again. That last lap was a 61.5. So Basseng really putting together a string of quick laps. He'll be handing over to Marcus Winkelhock, of course, for Q2. That's a really good first split for Ho Pin Tung in the Corvettes. Also going well as we concentrate at the moment on the number 22 Nissan of Richard Westbrook. Good first split from Richard. Middle split, though, is quite slow. I think he's backed it off, actually, on the middle of the lap. And he's being chased by his teammate Lucas Lohr, the number 23 JRM Nissan. Currently down in 9th place only is Lohr.
So good to the paddock. Lohr continues. They haven't really found the sweet spot with that Nissan because they've just not been able to get it to go and react to how they would have chosen compared to some of the sisters. Richard Westbrook in the pit still third quickest.
Let's just see what Hoping. And off's gone Lucas Lohr. Lucas Lohr, we were watching him a second ago and he's put it in the gravel. Let's see what happened here. Down into turn 1.
Back end, he caught the grass and the white line, just trying to be too greedy, got too much of the entry to the corner on the outside. Car snapped one way, locks on the brakes in the gravel trap, and that will probably see a red flag. It does, the red flag's out. The only way that car is going to be removed is by a tow rope.
That is big news, though, because there is the championship leading team, and John, they're 9th quickest at the moment, but we've got quite a lot of cars that haven't set a pace yet, and they could really be in danger, although we've got one car that's not going to qualify anyway because it's not out there. We're only going to lose 2 cars from Q1, but they could still maybe put them in danger of not making it through here.
Well, of course, the Lucas Lohr car effectively will be disqualified from the rest of the session. It's getting outside assistance, so that car will take no further part in qualifying. And there you can see Nigel Stepney, who really drives that car in every sense of the word.
Except behind the wheel.
Behind the wheel, and he will not be very happy indeed to see the star pairing in the Nissan lineup as we look at the car and the discussion going on. And I know that there's a concern about this length of time that drivers are staying in the car when they are off track. They're relaying information to the garage, staying precisely. Now watch as the car comes up, he hits the dip there, the back end steps out, and at that point he knows he's a passenger.
Yeah, and the thing here is there's no room for error. Once you make a mistake there, you're straight over a little short strip of grass, straight in the gravel. And yes, the gravel did its job, kept him off the barrier, but there is no way of driving out of these gravel traps like we see at so many other circuits around the world. This is so soft. In fact, so soft that Stefan Mucker said he had struggled to get out of his car earlier when he went in the gravel because the car sank almost up. Patriots, if you like, already get into trouble here at Golden Port. They might be just being a little wary of the place now. So we're still in the first segment of qualifying, remember, so we've still got to sort of determine who is setting the pace. At the moment, it's the Ford GT, not this one, but the number 9 car of Jonathan Hershey.
Right now, with the cloud base beginning to sort of come over the entire 2.4 kilometre circuit, I suspect that tyre temperatures, but certainly track temperatures, will be fractionally lower. Now, whether that is to anybody's advantage or not, that remains to be seen. Nevertheless, sometimes when the cloud cover does come over a racetrack, you do pick up the odd tenth or so.
Max Martin here, the winner last time, of course, hasn't done a lap yet, or at speed. He's been out in free practice, of course, this morning, and was quick indeed in free practice, but this will be his first flying lap coming up next time around, at speed in qualifying itself, and we'll get an idea. We do expect him to be fast, there's no doubt about it, and as the Ford comes out to cross the line, get the clocks running, because this could be an impressive first run.
Interesting, Martin leaves a lot more margin, where that little bit of the racetrack cuts into the race line. He's well over a foot away from it, where Lucas Lohr, who caused the red flag, was running over that, taking every bit available and a bit more.
He's about 2 tenths, less than 2 tenths down on the very fastest that we've seen in that first sector, which, by the way, Ho Pin Tung has set in the Corvette. Well done to him. Chinese driver here on home turf, back on board with Max Martin, punching it down the gears. He's in first gear through that left-hand hairpin up, second, third, and onto the back stretch, which is the longest straight.
Yes, up to fifth gear, that's the maximum they get. They've got 6 gears available. I actually asked an engineer, can you take the gear that you don't need, take it out of the gearbox, reduce friction, reduce a little bit of weight? No, in a way, they thought about this. Well, they can't probably do it, but if you're not using it, look, Christian Horner, the Aston number 4, the Hexes, he's set the first fastest sector right now as the Ford GT comes across the line.
So Max goes 6th initially with his first flying lap, but as we've seen, you can get quicker and quicker on this track. It's not a question of just being able to get one quick lap out of the tyres. You can make it quicker and quicker. Now, as you say, this car, fastest on the first sector. Let's see what it's like on the second sector, but Hohenadel on a very, very good lap so far. Good middle sector from his own personal point of view, although actually he hasn't set a time.
Always in trouble, the back end,
yeah.
got away, and that will have taken time away. All the good work he's done in the first sector probably now has been marginally sacrificed for that little bit of oversteer. 27.8, that green indicates a personal best. Again, the car fidgeting around the racetrack as it comes across the start-finish line, and Hohenadel ends up
12th. Yeah.
Oh dear, that was a big disappointment.
Yeah, that's a surprise.
Maxime Martin and Rossi in the Corvette, both setting individual fastest sector times on different sectors of the circuit.
So we go back on board.
And the Aston is off big time.
That's Dusseldorf. It's the other car. It's not the one we were just following. That's the other Hexis Aston Martin. Once again, somebody else has been caught out by this place, and it's the young Stef Dusseldorf who has gone off this time, and that's very disappointing for the team. They are.
That's into turn 7. It looked like turn 7 as we see.
We'll have to keep an eye on that. Yeah, this is their teammate's car, so they're still obviously all going round. I imagine that we're going to see, red flag back out again, red flag. So what a session this is turning into.
And just at the very moment that Thomas Enger in car number 7, the Gulf sponsored Aston Martin, young driver Aston Martin, had set fastest sector time in sector 1.
Stef Dusseldorf still in the car.
Look how deep the car is in the gravel.
Yeah, that's right. Well down there, isn't it? And again, the session gets stopped. So we're still only in the first segment of qualifying.
I think we're going to need headlights.
We are.
Because it gets
dark
here around
about
7 o'clock. It's dark. If they don't get this all done in the next, well, they've got another thing. That gap between the fastest and the rest of the field will once again concertina.
Now we're on board with Christopher Brook here, who has done very well. He's currently 4th quickest in this session. Only his second event, of course, coming in to join in the new team running these Lamborghinis. 26-year-old from Cologne in Germany. Now, he started his career like so many of these guys did in karting and single-seaters, but he's actually been racing in the ADAC German Championship, in the GT Open Series, which is sort of a Spain-based but European-wide GT Championship as well. So he's got quite a lot of GT experience, but it's now in the GT1 World Championship where we're seeing him. But watch Thomas Enger here, because Enger needs to put in a representative lap. He didn't get a chance. He was on a great lap when the red flags came out a little while ago.
Yeah, his first sector, 14.8, nowhere near the best.
No, it's pretty good actually. 14.892 is the best. So he's actually...
He had the best previously.
Yeah, that's right. So actually that is a good first sector, even though it wasn't a personal best.
So let's have a look and see down into turns 8 and 9. You come through 7, which is really just a prelude to set the car up onto the quickest part of the racetrack, up to the best part of probably about 230 kilometers per hour before you get to turn 10. One of those corners I had expected to see drivers taking a lot of the inside the curve, but nobody seems to be venturing that close to it. Then the quick right-left, then the run up to turn 13 and 14. To me, it's a parabolic corner. bumps in the middle of it. You've got to be careful not to get caught out.
Yeah, definitely see that there, can't you? He's taken a fairly sensible approach.
Quickest.
Yeah, 10th quickest, but I think he lost about a half second in the middle sector, and I think probably, as we heard from Philippe Dumas, all of these guys are going to qualify through to the next stage of qualifying. They do not need to go out there and be crazy, and the last thing they need to do is chuck the car off the road and then not be allowed to go out. So I think everyone's under strict instructions now. Keep it on the island, for goodness sake, and let's get through to segment 2 of qualifying. It's still just over 5.5 minutes on this one.
Schwager, currently 16th, goes on to a flying lap, comes through turn 3. Lovely feeling for a driver to go through a corner that gives you that sort of reaction back through the steering wheel, fractionally up, and now that first sector.
Yeah, up on his previous best and very competitive with the fastest outright in that first sector. We know that Schwager and Pastorelli, the two of them are very good qualifiers. They were so out of luck in the early part of the season.
Remember, they've had a fresh engine fitted to this car since the morning session completed, so they're going to take a 5 places or 10 place penalty drop regardless of wherever they qualify. But right now, it's the 48. It's the car driven by Jonathan Kennard, who's currently not Kennard behind the wheel. It's Christopher Brook who's showing very strongly in sector 2.
Yeah, although he stays 4th, so his final sector wasn't so good. Bit of a slide there from Schwager as he came through the last corner. Let's just see. He's only 14th, but again, I'm not sure we can read too much into these times because these guys all know they're through to the next segment of qualifying. They don't need to go too mad. Nicky Pastorelli will take over. Stefan Mucker is still quickest. Max Martin is 2nd fastest. We're riding back on board with Christopher Brook here. Jonathan Hershey 3rd. Brook himself is 4th.
Yeah, I mean, the big surprise currently is Jonathan Hershey in that 3rd place, and so far unchallenged. Christopher Brook may be the best in this car here to do a move on the 3rd place current Ford GT.
Yeah, this is a pretty decent lap from Christopher Brook. He's got a car up ahead of him though, so that's going to affect him. Yeah, far enough behind not to cause too much problem, I think. So the time to beat still the time of Stefan Mucker, the Aston Martin.
3rd.
Excellent, very good lap. And Jonathan Kennard, who'll be taking that car over for the 2nd segment of qualifying, will be delighted, I'm sure, to see how well the car's running. We saw him briefly earlier, John, didn't we? And he really seemed to be enjoying both the car and the circuit.
Yes, and it's interesting that these cars, the former Swiss Racing Lamborghinis, taken over literally at the 12th hour, came toward us, took a long time to get the car to a position where we could run competitively, but now the quickest so far of all the 4 Lamborghinis.
Number 12 Corvette on track, but also going fast once again is the current provisional fastest driver of all, Stefan Mucker. As we go back on board the Corvette. Nice interesting view of the driver at work, as this is Michael Rossi, yeah, trying to get the best out of this car. Coming through the last part, he's got a personal best in the middle sector there. It's probably not going to be a top time, but where does he go? 9th.
Stefan Mucker looking to further improve. Fastest in 1st sector, nothing brilliant in the 2nd sector, and concludes with consolidating his current fastest but not a quicker time.
That's right, 60.9, but no one yet to break that 60-second barrier. I wonder if we're going to see it in the last part of qualifying. I guess it's a possibility. There's the one remaining Hex's car, and I bet that's under even stricter instructions to stay on the tarmac. That's Christian Hohenadel now in the car, and he'll be handing over, of course, to Andrea Piccini for the 2nd part of qualifying, as long as he gets the car back in one piece. So
that's a 102, so no improvement for car number 4.
No, but they're safe in 6th.
Yeah.
In fact, they're all safe. All the cars are...
Oh, and the exit of 1.
I shouldn't say safe, should I?
No, you shouldn't. It'd be the curse of the commentator.
My goodness.
Just ran too wide, let the back wheel drop off the outside of the corner. The grass is dry, but it's still a lot less grip than the racetrack.
This is, I think we're on board with Stefan Mucker here, aren't we? Yes, a good 1st sector, but the middle sector pretty good. This could be a further improvement in time. Well, it's a 60.8. It doesn't quite match his previous best, but he's very close to it, only 300ths off it.
Yeah, he was fastest overall in the 1st and 3rd sector. Now, there's something, either it's a massive bug has hit that windscreen, or it's something coming from under the bonnet, or whatever it is. It was massive.
Yeah, big old mark on the windscreen there. So Stefan Mucker quickest. Maybe that's some payback to the mechanics who had a bit of cleaning up to do earlier when he went off in the gravel trap, but thankfully didn't actually do any damage. Even the front splitter looked in one piece despite his trip through the gravel. Meanwhile, you're looking here at the number 38 Lamborghini, and of course this is Marc Basseng. Crucial weekend, particularly now that we know that Krum and Lohr haven't made it through to the second part of qualifying, even more opportunity for this car to grab some points back in the championship chase.
Very much so, and they've just got to make sure they don't make any errors between now and the end of qualifying 3, because every position they can start ahead of Krum and Lohr is a massive bonus.
So the other drivers now getting ready. Of course, Dominic Schwager, I think, has brought his car in. Yeah, Dominic's just checking the timing screens. He's happy, he's 4th, so no problems there. Basseng himself, only 11th, but again, I don't think they'll be too worried about that. Westbrook is currently 5th. Yeah.
That's the lead Nissan, there we are.
Yeah, yeah, so it's the only JRM car that's still in the competition, of course. And we know that one Sumo car never even got into qualifying because of the accident for Nicky Katzberg. So we're down to 2 Nissans, one Sumo car, one JRM car to go through to the next stage. Where is the other Nissan at the moment in the times? The 20...
Campbell was 13th.
13th, okay. So, well, there's James Rumsey. We saw him. He's flown back in. He flew back to the UK after Ordos. He flew back in here to Beijing this morning. Basically, the first thing he saw was his Nicky Katzberg's car, which had hit the wall hard. Now he's seen his JRM car go out of qualifying in early stage, so it's not been a great start to the day for him. Now looking at number 47, Lamborghini
it's way
here.
down in 15th, so they need to make a substantial improvement. They don't have to, because they're basically immediately through to qualifying 2 anyway.
Yeah.
But just for the sake of the performance of the car, and they don't... no, they don't. They don't improve.
Stay 15th, but as you say, they don't need to worry too much. That's Manuel Lauk who's driving at the moment, and Benjamin Leyenberger who's going to take over. So we've got to the end of first qualifying. My goodness, it seemed to take forever, didn't it?
Well, it has. It's taken 55 minutes.
Really?
Well, what time did it start? 2:45.
Yes, it was
Taken
40
minutes.
Yeah, that's right.
What should have been a 20-minute session
Absolutely.
has taken double the amount of time. And there we're getting a view of some of the support for this event in Beijing. It's just on the outskirts of the city of Beijing, not very far away from the international airport.
That's right, yeah. We're up in that sector of Beijing, this huge city. You're riding on board the headlight camera, by the way, there of the number 47 car, which gives us a splendid view around the track, tucked in behind the perspex of the headlight cover on the front of that Lamborghini.
And that's, I tell you, I would say, as representative as you can get of what a driver will see as a race car makes its way around a racetrack. The level's about right, and the width, the depth of field, and the peripheral vision.
So Aston Martin ends up on top thanks to Stefan Mucker, but Ford are looking quick. Max Martin didn't need many laps to go second quickest. And then look at the Lamborghinis. 3, 4, 5. Actually, that was a big jump up right at the end there for Basseng. He suddenly put a quick lap in. So Lamborghinis look strong. Nissan, the best of the Nissans, is 6th for Richard Westbrook. 7th place, the Ford of Jonathan Hershey. He was quick early on in that session. And then Hohenadels Aston Martin, the only Hexis car to get through. Thomas Enger, 9th fastest. The Ford of Mark Henrici, 10th. Then the 2 Exim Bank Team China Corvettes, and Ho Pin Tung will hand the car over to Jeroen Den Boer now for the second part of qualifying. Then as we look further down the list, the Nissan of the Sumo Power team of Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham safely through, as is the Ford GT of Antoine Leclerc and Jan Claret. Lamborghini of Lauk and Leyenberger, but Lohr and Krum and Dusseldorp and Piccioni, those last 2 are not allowed to play any further part as they caused red flags during the first segment of qualifying. Let's go and hear, though, from our fast man there, Stefan Mucker.
Fastest in the last session, and after your troubles in pre-qualifying, it's definitely made up for those problems.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Names here, and I think that's the thing about GT1 now. There's real strength in depth throughout all of the driver lineups. I don't think there's really a weak link anyway. You've got some less experience than others, but still some very strong driver lineups.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the changes that teams have noticed, even as recently as from last year, that you could get away with running what you might best describe as a gentleman driver. There isn't any slot available for a gentleman driver, even though he might bring a substantial wedge with him to help him get into the seat of that car.
Yeah, no, it's all about the money now. It's about your pace. And these guys will know that, because the pressure comes on a bit stronger now, because you've got to get into the top 8 here to make it through to the next stage of qualifying. And as we've seen, the times around this track are going to be separated by mere thousands. Quite a lot of pressure on the driver here, John, because Bertrand Baguette takes over from Fred Makovicky. Makovicky is away this weekend. He's racing elsewhere. He won last weekend in this car with Max Martin. Now Baguette's got to pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, but he's a capable driver. He's been in the car. He raced in Navarra in Spain in early July. So he knows the car. He will have learned the circuit in the time he had available in the car. Hasn't got quite the overall experience that Maxime Martin has got, and of course Maxime Martin is fundamentally the star of the VDS4 team. So Bernard Baguette has got to ensure that he gets this car into the top 8 to move forward into the final qualifying 3.
Now, Peter Dunbrek.
Yep.
Let's see what he's going to do. The times have been all cleared. Remember, they were doing best. It was a 14.9 on that first sector, but that's still very competitive. 15.0. Good lap already this from Peter Dunbrek as he comes out of turn 10 through the little switchback here at 11 and 12 and up towards the last bend.
And Peter Dunbrek really was one of the heroes of the round in Ordos. Supported Richard Westbrook, and sometimes Richard does get the limelight more than Peter. He's a much more retiring character. Does a 1:01.717. Currently quickest.
Currently quickest, but about a second away from the fastest time we saw in Q1, and we can expect them to be going quicker and quicker as we go through qualifying. Another new set of tyres will be available, so we'll see. Dunbrek quicker already on the first sector, by the way, as we ride on board now with Bertrand Baguette. So he's got to get his act together fairly quickly here, and let's see what he does. He's still on his first flying lap. Quite a slow first sector though, about a second slower on the first sector, and he's about half a second slower on the second sector than we saw from Dunbrek.
Yeah, it's one of the Aston Martins, Alex Muller, well-known Rolex watch dealer, as well as a racing driver. He was explaining to me the value of some of the Rolexes that he operates and sells. And as we watch Bertrand Baguette come through turn 14, of course, across start-finish line.
5th. That's pretty good first effort.
It's not bad, bearing in mind the crew in second are only getting the one run, so they've got to get their eye in extremely quickly. As we look now at the young driver Aston Martin, that was the car that Thomas Enger was out in, now driven by Alex Muller.
Yeah, and he's on a good lap. The first sector, which is where Enger was quick too. Interestingly, the Aston seems to be very good over the first sector here. Middle sector perhaps not the quickest car, although this is still pretty good for him. 4th. So 4th quickest at the moment. Peter Dunbrek is currently quickest on the previous lap.
1:01.7 something.
Okay, yeah, previous lap. And second fastest Christopher Nygaard in the Belgian Ford GT. Nico Verdonk is up to 3rd in the Corvette. That's a good effort. Alex Muller's gone 5th, as we say. Some other quicker times coming through. Brabham, yeah, he's on a reasonable lap, isn't he? But
Baz Linders, fastest.
And Winkelhock's gone 2nd. So that's a change too. So we've got Ford. No, another one. Baguette's just gone fastest.
Well, we had the two Fords dominating the second pre-qualifying session, and it's no surprise to see them back up there. But the challenger will come throughout the field. Alex Muller is still on his lap, ready to complete it. He's quickest in the first sector, so he'll know very shortly where he's going to end up.
Dunbrek bringing the car straight back in the pit, so he's not doing a longer run here.
Nygaard, Christopher Nygaard on the Belgian Racing Ford, 1:01.165.
Right, the Danish driver. That's a good effort from him particularly, and he'll be very pleased. Raced with Aston Martin last year, did Christopher Nygaard. Been sharing the car with Vanina X until the last couple of events. Muller's gone 3rd, so it's now Nygaard, Baguette. That's Ford and Ford, then Muller, Aston Martin, Linders, Ford. Tell you what, those Ford GTs, John, we're looking at one here. They are flying.
They're really ideally suited to the circuit. Baz Linders, 1:08.823.
Fastest of all. So that was a great lap for the number 40 Ford, and this is what we have been hoping to see from Baz and from Mark Iannaricci all season long.
And when I say Marcus Winkelhock up to 2nd place in the Lamborghini, so it's Ford, Lamborghini, Ford, Aston Martin.
Yeah.
And then another Lamborghini, Jonathan Kennard, doing a great job in that car 48.
Well, Nissans are definitely struggling a bit. We've lost 2 Nissans from qualifying already. Just to remind you, we've lost the... a bit of a slide from Alex Muller there. That was nicely held. Let's just see what the lap time is like. 4th. No, that's competitive. But we've lost 2 Nissans already from qualifying. We saw Katzberg go off this morning, crash the car. We've seen Lucas Luhr go off this afternoon. So we're down to the cars of Peter Dunbrek and David Brabham in this second qualifying segment. And Dunbrek currently 11th, although he's capable of a lot more. And David Brabham is 5th. Yeah. Okay, now, are we seeing a change? Yeah. Faster again for Baz Linders. He's down to 60.6 now, and Mark Iannaricci likes that. He definitely approves. He'll be taking over for the final segment. That's Max Martin on the right, the glasses on, and his teammate's just gone 2nd. So the Mark VDS cars are 1 and 2.
Well, they were 1 and 2 at the end of qualifying, pre-qualifying, they call it, the last of the practice sessions before we go into qualifying. Baz Leinders, Bernard Baguette, Marcus Winkelhock, Christopher Nygaard, Alex Muller, and David Brabham in 6th.
Darren Turner's on a pretty good lap, or has he got held up? Let's just watch him here. He's behind David Brabham, so whether they're both on quick enough laps. Turner had a very good first sector. Again, the Aston is blinding in the first sector. He's got it down to 14.7.
Second quickest.
Wow.
The Dazzler gone second in the Aston Martin.
Whereas David Brabham could only manage 7th there, so the Aston is working really well. What is it about this first sector that suits the Aston so well, do you think?
It's difficult to see because turn 3, which is a great corner, it's an aerodynamic corner, and that may be the reason why the Aston can get into that little bit better and against a little bit more downforce, a little bit more grip. The basic corner speeds are so slow. It's very little difference between the best and the worst.
But Leinders has got it back. So Leinders is, he's still on top. Turner was second. Yeah. Winkelhock third now. So that Lamborghini of Winkelhock getting in amongst the Fords a bit more. Nissan of David Brabham you're looking at. He's on a good lap. 14.9, 27.0. This is a competitive lap. Not the fastest of all in those sectors, but he's right on the money with those times. So let's see what he goes to. He's currently 7th quickest. I think this will move him up a little bit.
Certainly, he's looking to did a great job again in Ordos. Very combative drive up to 3rd place for David Brabham. Best of the Nissans, Jamie Campbell-Water. Big man a double, please, Jamie. Doing a great job. Yeah,
he's pleased with that, isn't he? And he should have that car to take back into the final part of qualifying. So they were very happy with the way the car was handling this morning. Although this track might not be ideal for Nissan, they actually felt it was as good as they could have hoped for when they rolled it out, and had a good basic setup to work with. Now, you're looking here at the number 9 Ford, Christopher Nygaard. He was very quick initially. He went back in the pits. He's come back out now. Currently 7th quickest, but remember, it's only the top 8 that make it through, so we could see a few more changes here.
One of the Nissans that may have been David Brabham, it would have been, because that's the only sumo car still running, kicking up the dust on the exit, coming out of turn 9, then goes through this lap right and left, and he's going to make his way back into the pits. I doubt he will think about starting another lap, go back in, have a quick word with the engineers, and have one more go if he feels the need to do so. They're currently in 3rd place, probably won't feel the need to do so. As long as you're in the top 8, then you're safe.
Yeah, but the competition to get into that top 8 is pretty furious, so you're going to have to be a little careful. Just under 6 minutes to go then. Looking back at Peter Dumbreck. Now, he did an initial run. He came in quite early. Maybe he felt he needed
He's in 8. He just got into the top 8 now in this last lap.
Right, but as we know, they can get a few laps out of each set of tyres. He will stay out there, I would think. In
fact, he's dropped back to 9 because Muller has now come up to 7th, Nygaard 8th. Dumbreck has dropped back in the second that you say he could be safe. Lucas Lohr watching the action alongside other engineers. So Peter Dumbreck's got to go and do it again.
At least Lucas hasn't gone off and hidden somewhere. He's out there, he's with the guys, he's heads up, and he's made a mistake, and he's going to deal with it. So let's see who's in danger at the moment. Well, Dumbreck 9th currently. Den Boer in the Corvette is currently 11th. Jonathan Kennard is down there as well at the moment. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. Andrea Piccini there, you're looking at it right now.
Well, the second of the Hexus Astons, in fact, the only Hexus Aston remaining. The first one ended up in the gravel. So they will be anxious indeed to try and get something out of this second segment of qualifying, currently in 12th, and a lot of work to do, and it's going to be very busy around 6th to 12th with 4.5 minutes or so remaining.
So he's on to a flying lap now, because that lap still keeps him out of the top running at the moment, down out of turn 1, 2 through the kink at turn 3, but we're looking quickly at the forward here, the number 9 car, Christopher Nygaard. He's right on the bubble. He's in 8th place at the moment. This is going to be a really great last few minutes of this session.
He's got a personal best in that first sector.
That's good.
So that's a good start. He's going to have to do it again in the remaining 2. So can the Dane get that Ford GT slightly further up? He had him further up earlier in this session, but such is the pace that he's now found himself on the bubble, and Peter Dumbreck directly behind in 9th will be delighted to take 8th place away if he gets the chance.
Yeah, this is fast and furious stuff. Bas Leinders fastest at the moment in the Ford. It's Aston Martin 2nd with Darren Turner. David Brabham 3rd in the Nissan. That's a great effort. And then 4th, Marcus Winkelhock. They're all in the pits at the moment, the top 4. As Max Martin keeps an eye on those times. Where is Baguette?
Well, I think Baguette, he's 6th. I think Baguette's got to go again. I don't think they should feel sufficiently secure in 6th place to think that they can sit in the pits. 3.5 minutes of this session to go.
Back down we come with Andrea Piccini, vastly experienced Italian racer, and it's been a key part. Look how much lock he's putting in. The underneath hand actually comes off the steering wheel. It's quite unusual to see that.
Great view of a telephone there, looking at something which doesn't show a thing. Anyway, let's watch and see what the Italian driver and the Aston Martin can do. Short shifts out of turn 8 up the hill, turn 9, and then runs the car middle of the track. Now I wonder, is this a lap, or he certainly stayed to the middle of the track on the approach to turn 10. Slippery on the approach up. You can see the glaze in the racetrack on the braking zone as you come into turn 10.
Now let's just listen. Down a couple of gears, listen to the throttle. It's a really great on board there, listening to the throttle and how much power he's putting in. So 10th, that's not good enough. That is not good enough. Well, there's Steph Dusseldorf, who's out anyway, because he was the one that went off earlier, looking fairly glum. And that is not good enough for Philippe Dumas either. He won't be satisfied with that. They need more.
They do, and it doesn't look like it's coming from Aston number 4, Andrea Piccini, in that car, as Philippe Dumas wanders around, almost agitated, looking at the screen to see if he can, maybe just by looking at it, make a difference.
He's great though, isn't he? Just that energy.
Oh no, his body language is almost theatrical.
Yeah. And I tell you what, there's a few guys now on trying to really improve here, John. We've got a few people who set good first sectors. This is Nico Verdonk. He's done a good first sector.
He's currently in 5th place, so he, you might think, is about as secure as you can hope to be in the top 8, but there's no guarantees.
No, none at all. Peter Dunbreck here, out of the top 8 at the moment, but he's done a personal best in the first sector, so the question is whether he can now improve on that.
Doesn't look particularly, there was no improvement certainly in the second sector, so he's got to find an improvement on a 1:01.074.
Verdonk therefore, let's just see, was
no,
that?
1:03.6, okay. So that wasn't...
Stays 5th, so he's actually safe at the moment, Verdonk, but it does depend on what people do behind him. Now, Baguette has dropped to 7th, which is getting a bit marginal for the VDS Ford of Max Martin, who's desperate to take it over. We've got under a minute and a half to go, still riding with Nico Verdonk here at the moment, and we've got a great first sector from Alex Muller, who is already pretty safe in 3rd anyway, but the Aston Martin again supreme over the first sector of the lap.
We must ask Alex Muller what it is about sector 1, because he has been consistently putting in fastest overall sector times in that particular sector.
Yeah, definitely good effort.
37.
Now this is Nicky
Pastorelli, yeah, he's down in 11th place. He needs to find something special as he comes across the start-finish line. Pastorelli goes up to 10th. That's not special enough. It's
not enough, is it? Their teammate Finkelhock is in the top 8 at the moment, currently 5th. And that is so important from their point of view, with the Krum Law Nissan going to be at the back. Now look at Alex Muller here. He's on a very, very good lap. Great first sector. Let's see whether he's sustained it throughout. Across the line he goes. He stays 3rd.
Yeah, a minute and 9.10 of a second. So stays 3rd. He's still got that fastest sector time in sector 1. He's secure. It's those that are hovering around 7th and 8th. That's Bernard Baguette and Christopher Nygaard. You've got Peter Dunbreck and Nicky Pastorelli, who are more than possible. And even Jonathan Kennard, he's down in 13th. But Jerome Denboer in the Corvette at 11th. Don't discount the Dutchman.
No, that's right. And if he hands the car over, it would be hope in tongue in the car, wouldn't it? So let's wait and see. This is a run from Christopher Nygaard. He's currently in 8th place, but will he stay there? Because Dunbreck is his nearest challenger. There's not much to choose between them. Across the line, he stays 8th, does Christopher Nygaard. Checkered flag is out. Is anybody else going to beat that time? I don't think they are. Dunbreck still got to... No, Dunbreck can't do it. Dunbreck hasn't done it. And Baguette has got this guy through as well. So let's quickly run through the top 8 cars that have made it through. It's Bas Linders, Darren Turner, Alex Muller, David Brabham, Marcus Finkelhock, Nico Verdonk, Bertrand Baguette sneaking through, and Christopher Nygaard, who's also done it. We might possibly see a change. No, because Finkelhock's already in the top 8. No change here. He'll be coming into the pits, I think. And I think that's pretty much it. So the ones to miss out are the Nissan of Peter Dunbreck, the Lamborghini of Nicky Pastorelli, the Corvette of Den Boer, the Hexus Aston Martin of Andrea Piccini, Jonathan Kennard in his Lamborghini, and Jan Claret in the Belgian Racing Ford. So some key names there. I suppose we've still got one Nissan that has made it into the final part of qualifying, John, but we've sort of been dropping Nissans as we've gone through the day, really.
Well, it's been a bad day. We had that incident with Nicky Katzberg in practice this morning. Then we had, almost a schoolboy error from Lucas Lohr, just being too greedy going into turn one. And 4 out, 2 down, 1 to go.
Good, nice slap on the back for Bertrand Baguette. From the team and from, well, all the guys there. Max Martin will be delighted that he's made it through to the top 8. And that's, pressure on. Fair dues to Bertrand Baguette, jumping back in the car again after a break. He's only raced it once this year. That was at Navarra. And yet he's taken on a really competitive session there, and he's managed to come through and set a very, very good time. Just looking at those times, how much... You look at Dumbreck. Dumbreck, John, was only 0.03 of a second outside the top 8. Massively close, wasn't it? They were all covered, the whole group, by less than a second. Let's get down there.
Congratulations, Bad. Fastest in that session, but this track was always going to be suited to the smaller engine Ford GT.
Yeah, it's quite good here. Just a little bit like Ordos, but Ordos we had a lot of trouble, but we had a few good nights sleeping, so a fresh start here, and everything goes better than Ordos for us for car 40, so we're really happy now.
And would your lucky charm, that is Mrs. Linders, stood behind you there, possibly be present this weekend, have something to do with it?
Well, it's always nice to have your family really close, and yeah, in Ordos she was not there. She joined us here in Beijing, and it's always nice to be together. And she's been with me like all my career, so she's always tried to push me, and that's always very nice.
Thank you.
So Bas Linders successfully making it through and in the top spot as well. And of course, yeah, he's happy that his wife is here too. Mark Kenerici, who will be taking over from him for the second part. But let's just quickly look at those times then. It was top spot for the Ford of Bas Linders, 60.6. Look how close those times are, those. You can look down the right-hand side of the page. Aston Martin, the 2 young driver cars, not only fast in the first sector, fast on the whole lap as well, because Turner was second and Muller ended up third. David Brabham, another stunning job from him in the Nissan to go fourth. Marcus Winkelhock got the Lamborghini home in fifth. Verdonk, the Corvette, in sixth. That's a good effort too. Bertrand Baguette jumping in the Ford, gone seventh quickest, and also making it through. Christopher Nygaard, great effort for those guys. But out of it, the Nissan of Westbrook and Dumbreck, the Lamborghini of Schweger and Pastorelli, the other Corvette. So sadly, we've lost our only Chinese driver. He won't be taking back over for the last part of qualifying. And then the Aston Martin, the Hexis car of Hohenadel and Piccini, that didn't make it through either. And the other two that failed to get through there, Jonathan Kennard, sadly, not quite making it, and nor did the Ford GT of Jan Claret. But we do have our top 8 cars, which are getting ready for the final shootout here around the Golden Port circuit in Beijing. 8 cars, 10 minutes is all they get, and it's going to be a couple of runs to see what they can achieve and see who's going to end up on pole. I wonder if Bas Linders and Mark Kenerici are going to be able to hang on to this top spot. It's going to be pretty fraught, isn't it?
Well, I mean, they've been...
A bit of that points deficit to Lucas Lohr and Michael Krum in the Drivers' Championship.
Remember, there was only 0.4 of a second splitting first place and 8th place for that second qualifying segment. So what will happen in this final run out, 10 minutes, 8 cars, much easier to find clear circuit, not to have any problems from cars either entering or leaving the pit lane, hopefully not tripping over one another. Inevitably they always do. There is the pit lane exit. That's going to come into play, and of course Matt Bassang should be a bit more cautious. He ran the white line as he came out of the pit lane. Now whether that's an issue for anybody to pick up on or not, but ordinarily you don't want to go near the pit lane exit white line. It can pick up a drive-through penalty or sometimes more severe penalties.
Yeah, certainly in the races they will be under...
I think under any circumstance.
Yeah. No, they will be strictly watched on that, and they were reminded of it, weren't they, in the driver's briefing this morning. Jamie Campbell-Walter taking to the track quite early as well. A few cars have gone out, though. Thomas Enger is on track. So is Jonathan Hershey, Michael Rossi. Not many people are waiting. It looks as though we're going to have a number of cars out on track, particularly, as you say, trying to get a bit clear space, because it is a short track. It's going to be ever so easy to trip over people.
The other thing that is unknown is nobody actually knows what this track is going to be like as a racetrack. All we know from right now is a circuit where drivers have practiced on, they're now qualifying on, but they don't know what to expect when it comes to the start of the qualifying race. 18 cars all going into turn 1. Nobody will want to go offline, nobody will want to pay penalties, because the penalties here are extremely unforgiving.
As we've seen. Onto the backstretch then comes Jamie Campbell-Walter, 15.2 at the first sector, which is okay, but it's not certainly the quickest we've seen. 27.4 in the middle sector, 27.0 is the real fast pace in that middle sector. And now the short final sector here. Listen to the engine note through this one. You really have to play the throttle, don't you?
Yeah, he's trying to get the balance of the car, the back end and the front end to marry together to try and get the attitude of the car on the corner to such a degree that he can then get on the power hard and hopefully get a good exit out of turn 1, out of turn 14, down the pit straight into turn 1.
Somebody going a bit slowly there. David Bradman keeping an eye on things. Nicky Katzberg, who had that off this morning, of course not driving this afternoon. Enger's just gone quickest. Campbell-Walter had gone quickest, but now it's Thomas.
Yeah, but Thomas has done the fastest sector on this second flying lap in sector 1. Again, part of the racetrack that the Aston seems to shine on.
Michael Rossi at the wheel of this Corvette that has made it through. Nico Verdonk did a fantastic job to get it through into the top 8. It's not really a Corvette track, but well, Verdonk didn't know that. He's put the car through to the top 8. I think Rossi might struggle a bit to keep it up at the top end in this exalted company, but we'll have to wait to see exactly where he ends up. Enger, Rossi second at the moment, though, we have to say. So it's a good first lap.
Anywhere in the top 8, front 4 rows is better than being anywhere other than the front 4 rows, so he's going to be pretty happy. Enger still on a 1:00.845, fastest first and second sector. That's his current fastest time.
60.8, so we're getting back down to the sort of top pace that we saw in Q2, but are we going to be able to see a really rapid pace setting from some of these guys? There's the Corvette, that's Michael Rossi. Currently he's been pushed back down to 4th.
Again, takes a lot of the track coming into turn 14, running the white line and the edge of the racetrack, using every available centimetre he can get.
Good lap.
To start flying.
Second.
Yes, 1:00.942, and he had the fastest sector in sector 3.
That's a really good effort from Michael Rossi, the young French driver, the 23-year-old. As we've seen him in the GT1 Championship throughout most of the year, and he's gradually improving and getting quicker and quicker, so it's a good effort now. Let's just see how the Aston Martins are getting on.
Stefan Mucker goes third.
Yep, and Thomas Enger still at the top of the times and on a quick lap again. In the background you'll see Enger just coming across a 60.4 from Thomas Enger. That's a really rapid lap. So it's Enger, Rossi, Stefan Mucker, and 4th fastest at the moment, Marc Bassin.
Where are the 4 GTs, the team and the manufacturer who's dominated so far through these 2 second sectors? Currently, Maxime Martin is just out on his first out lap, and Jonathan Hershey pretty much on a flying lap. He's now going to go back to Michael Rossi. Can he improve?
Yeah, it's a good lap. It could be better again.
But Bassin has split Enger and Rossi. Bassin second in the Lamborghini.
3rd fastest for Rossi then. So now it's Enger, as you say. Aston Martin on top. Lamborghini, that Lamborghini's just gone 2nd fastest in the hands of Marc Bassin. And you can see he's pushing on a bit now. 14.8 in that first sector. 14.7 is the best we've seen so far in this final segment of qualifying. And he is trying.
The whale.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, almost a lot coming out of turn 10, out of turn 9 up the hill. The whale of that Lamborghini V12 engine is like pulling teeth without an anaesthetic.
Well, let's just watch him on the last part of the lap. He is attacking this circuit. Good middle sector time as well. Not the quickest. He's about 2/10 down on the quickest to that point. So I'm not sure this is going to be any better for him. And you can hear how he could get on the throttle there better than some of the other cars. That was interesting. Let's see, he's already second, stays second at a 60.6.
Watch Michael Rossi in the Corvette. Here he is. Now he's slowed down. He was fastest overall in the second sector, and all of a sudden he's aborted the lap, comes into the pit lane. Now, is that a problem for Michael Rossi? He stopped pretty much at the entrance to the pit lane. Strange. We have to find out from the pit lane what's wrong with the Corvette.
Yeah, he's got it running again. So
Maxime Martin, in the meantime, fastest now in second sector, comes up to turn 10. The car turns, and in fact it's the sister car, Baz Linders.
It's Henrici,
yes.
In this car at the moment. But you're right, Martin has just gone fastest in the other car. We're looking at Henrici, but Max Martin, the other Ford, has gone quickest now. Can Henrici attack that? He's got a good first sector here, and he goes 6th. So Henrici's 6th fastest, but his teammate is on top by a fraction from Stefan Mucker, who's just gone 2nd fastest. This is what happened to the Corvette, John. Take a
Well,
look.
he ran just slightly off the track. Now, whether he picked up a puncture in doing so, but certainly we picked that up on the initial. This is the replay of that incident, and suddenly he just peels off and heads back into the pits.
Marcus Winkelhock keeps an eye on how Basseng, his teammates, getting on. Well, it's pretty good at the moment. They're fourth, and they would settle for that, I'm sure. Second row starting position if they can hang on to it. But Max Martin here has already gone fastest, a 60.3. Tenth of a second, that's his advantage over Stefan Mucker. And Bas Leinders urging Mark Henrici on. Mark is down in 6th place at the moment. Across the line he goes. Still. Oh no, that's Henrici's still 6th.
Yes.
I was seeing the 41 car. That's Max Martin already fastest.
Stefan Mucker second, Enger third, Basseng fourth. Then it's Michael Rossi who's gone into the pits for a problem which we think is related to running the right side rear off the track on the approach into turn 13.
Let's just see if Thomas Enger's any quicker on this lap. He's currently third, stays third for the moment. No change for the Aston Martin. It's Ford, Aston Martin, Lamborghini, Corvette, then Ford, Nissan and Ford. So Jamie Campbell-Walter down in 7th place at the moment, John.
Slightly strange, we expected the Fords, the two VDS Fords to dominate, but Mark Henrici's not been able to match the pace that we have seen from Bas Leinders, certainly in the second of qualifying. Henrici currently down in 6th place.
Yeah, that's right. He hasn't quite been able to do it. The times, though, are close. We go from 60.3 for Martin down to 60.9 for Henrici. So he still needs to find a bit. Jan Struve there, the boss of the young driver, Aston Martin's. Very happy with the way things are going, I would think, at the moment, with his cars 2nd and 3rd, as looking to see whether Mark Basseng can go any quicker. He's already 4th quickest, remember. I think that would be a pretty good starting position for these guys as they try and close the points gap to Michael Krum and Lucas Luhr, who will be starting at the back, remember, of the qualifying. Lex Muller there. Aston will be alongside the Lamborghini of Basseng and Winkelhock on the 2nd row. Row 3, we'll see Michael Rossi and Nico Verdonk. Great effort in the Corvette there. And Henrici and Bas Leinders with a repaired car now. Hershey and Nygaard, they'll be delighted in the Belgian Racing Ford. That's a great performance. But the Nissan just didn't quite have the pace there in the final part of qualifying. Still the top Nissan on the grid, though, of Jamie Campbell-Walter and David Brabham. Let's go and hear now from Bas Leinders.
Maj, unfortunately, it looks like Mark's been caught out by the track.
Yes, it's a bit highs and lows at the moment. Car is very good. I think we have a car to be on the front row, just like our teammates now. And so P6 is very disappointing, especially if your car is damaged. So let's hope tomorrow it's a better day.
Thank you.